As a whole, Malaysia's labor market regained momentum towards recovery in the fourth quarter of 2021, stimulated by revival of more economic and social activities. Labor Market Review gives an insight of short-term labor market statistics during the fourth quarter of 2021, which will enable readers to gauge a comprehensive view on Malaysia's labor market. This report consists of 3 segments, which are labor supply, labor demand, and labor productivity. This edition of LMR also features a snapshot of the labor market situation for the year 2021. And finally, with an edition special article which highlights topic related to labor market through statistics. During fourth quarter of 2021, labor force situation continued to improve compared to similar period in 2020 and as against the previous quarter, reflected by the rise of labor force participation rate to 68.7%. The number of labor force during the quarter climbed 1.3% to 16.14 million persons, which comprised of 15.44 million employed and 694,000 unemployed. During the same period, employment registered a larger year-on-year increase of 1.8% compared to 1.2% annual rise in the previous quarter. Hence, the ability of the economy to create employment as denoted by the employment-to-population ratio edged up 0.5 percentage points year-on-year to 65.7%. Looking at the distribution of employment by educational attainment, more than half of the employed persons were those with secondary education. In fourth quarter of 2021, number of employed persons in this category grew by 5.4% year-on-year to record 8.63 million persons. Another category that saw a rise in employed persons was no formal education. On the contrary, employed persons with tertiary education, which comprised of 31.8%, dropped 2.9% to record 4.91 million persons. Quarter on quarter, the increase in employment was contributed by employed persons with primary and secondary education attainment. Moving on to employment by skill level. Year-on-year increases were observed for semi-skilled and low-skilled occupation categories, whereas skilled category continued to register a decline since third quarter of 2021. Employment in semi-skilled category made up largest share at 59.9%, soared 4.3% to record 9.24 million persons. Meanwhile, low-skilled category, which encompassed of 12.3% of employment, went up by 9.2%. Employed persons in skilled category, which composed of 27.8%, dropped 5.8% as against the same quarter of preceding year to 4.3 million persons. On quarterly basis, employed persons in all 3 skill categories increased compared to third quarter of 2021. Looking at the disaggregation of employed persons by status in employment, employees made up the largest composition at 76.2%. During fourth quarter of 2021, those employed as own account workers surged 8.7% to 2.65 million persons, corresponding to the gradual ease of multiple standard operating procedures during the quarter. Meanwhile, employees category, which comprised of paid employment in public and private sector, experienced a rise of 0.6% or an additional 69,000 employed persons to record 11.77 million persons. During fourth quarter of 2021, almost all states have transitioned to Phase 4 of the National Recovery Plan, which allowed more businesses to operate with higher number of employees at one point of time, whilst business hours were also extended. Thus, the number of employed persons working less than 30 hours per week decreased 26.2% year-on-year to record 394,000 persons, which comprised of 2.6% to total employment. Subsequently, out of total employed persons in this category, 74.4% are able and willing to work additional hours, or known as time-related underemployment, encompassing 293,000 persons. The rate of time-related underemployment dropped 0.5 percentage points to 1.9% in fourth quarter of 2021. In the meantime, the number of tertiary educated employed persons working in semi- and low-skilled occupations dropped for the first time since 2019 by 2.6% to record 1.84 million persons. However, the share of employed persons in this category increased marginally by 0.1 percentage point to 37.5%. In spite of these marginal reductions in the number, the fact remained that more than one-third of employed persons with tertiary education is prevalence in the semi- and low-skill occupations. Moving on to unemployment situation. The national unemployment rate slipped 0.5 percentage points to 4.3%, registering the lowest rate since the public health crisis. The number of unemployed persons lessened by 8.7% to 694,000 unemployed persons in fourth quarter of 2021. This was also the first time unemployment eased to below 700,000 since the pandemic. Parallel to the overall unemployment scenario, unemployment rate of youth aged 15 to 24 years also went down considerably by 1.1 percentage points as against fourth quarter of 2020 to post 11.7%. Quarter-on-quarter unemployment situation had also been on a declining trend for 3 consecutive quarters since second quarter of 2021. Among the unemployed persons, there were 88.0% actively unemployed in fourth quarter of 2021. The number decreased by 3.7% to record 611,000 persons. As for duration of unemployment, more than half or 57.9% was unemployed for less than 3 months. This category recorded a gain of 68,000 persons to 354,000 persons, while the other durations of unemployment indicated year-on-year and quarter-on-quarter declines. Meanwhile, there were 45,000 persons in long-term unemployment, which made up 7.4% of total actively unemployed, went down by 32.5% during fourth quarter of 2021. In fourth quarter of 2021, the number of outside labor force rose marginally by 0.6% as compared to the same quarter of previous year to record 7.36 million persons. In contrast, outside labor force declined 0.9% from the previous quarter, indicating more people moving into the labor force. Nearly half or 45.7% of outside labor force was due to education or training, indicating potential to enter the labor force upon completion of their study. Besides, the share of outside labor force because of housework or family responsibility ranked second at 40.5%. With regard to labor supply situation at state level, 7 states recorded the LFPR exceeding the national rate of 68.7% in fourth quarter of 2021. In terms of unemployment, Sabah and Wilayah Persekutuan Labuan still recorded unemployment rates above 7% at 9 and 7.6% respectively. Meanwhile, the lowest unemployment rate was in Wilayah Persekutuan Putrajaya at 1.6%. In total, 4 states recorded unemployment rate above the national level during fourth quarter of 2021. In fourth quarter of 2021, demand for labor in economic sector picked up for the first time after continuous decline since second quarter of 2020. During the quarter, number of jobs increased 0.9% year-on-year to 8.53 million jobs. A positive development also occurred in the short term, whereby economic sector gained an additional 125,000 jobs as against the previous quarter. The number of filled jobs surged 0.8% year-on-year to record 8.35 million filled jobs in fourth quarter of 2021. In term of quarter-on-quarter comparison, an increment of 116,000 jobs was recorded. Following revival of more economic and social activities in fourth quarter 2021, the number of vacancies also rose by 4.4% compared to same quarter in the previous year to register 184,000 job vacancies. A larger increase of 5.5% or equivalent to additional 10,000 job vacancies was observed as compared to third quarter of 2021. Looking at the proportion of filled jobs and vacancies in fourth quarter of 2021, the rate of filled jobs declined marginally by 0.1 percentage point to 97.8% after registering 97.9% for 5 successive quarters since third quarter of 2020. Accordingly, the rate of job vacancies climbed up 0.1 percentage point to 2.2%. The increased demand for labor was shown from the 25% rise in the number of jobs created to record 20.9 thousand jobs compared to the same quarter a year ago, as most states have moved to Phase 4 of National Recovery Plan by the end of 2021, thus allowing for reopening of more economic and social activities throughout the quarter. Evidently, the number of quarterly jobs created in 2021 has yet to return to the level before the COVID-19 crisis hit in 2019. However, it is worth noting that the number was trending up. During fourth quarter of 2021, Malaysia's economy rebounded to 3.6% after a decline of 4.5% in previous quarter. During the same period, employment continued its positive growth, registering a stronger growth of 1.8% year-on-year. Hence, the performance of labor productivity expressed as the ratio of value added per employment turned around by 1.7% in fourth quarter of 2021 after diving 5.6% in third quarter of 2021, registering the level of 24,006 ringgit Malaysia per perso. Considering increased in labor demand following resumption of more businesses and longer operation hours, total hours worked surged 2.3% to 8.78 billion hours in fourth quarter of 2021. Thus, labor productivity measured as value added per hour worked grew 1.3% after declining for the last 2 quarters. In term of level, labor productivity per hour worked in fourth quarter of 2021 was 42.2 ringgit Malaysia per hour. This segment briefly touches on the annual labor market performance for the year 2021 as Malaysia muddled through yet another year of the COVID-19 crisis. In term of labor supply, preliminary estimates based on monthly average data indicated that the number of labor force rose by 3% to 16.14 million persons. Consequently, the labor force participation rate in 2021 edged up by 0.2 percentage points to 68.6. Correspondingly, another 31.4% of the population in the working age was outside the labor force, equivalent to 7.39 million persons. In 2021, the number of employed persons surged 3% to record 15.4 million persons after a decrease of 0.8% last year following the adverse impact of the pandemic. In the meantime, the number of unemployed persons increased further to 741,000 in 2021 after recording 711,000 persons in previous year. Amid continuous containment measures to mitigate the escalating health crisis, the unemployment rate rose 0.1 percentage point to reach a new high of 4.6% in 2021. The year 2021 has also observed improvement in the labor demand as jobs grew to 0.9% after declining 2.4% in 2020. Nevertheless, the level of jobs in 2021, which stood at 8.53 million, was still lower than 8.66 million jobs recorded in 2019 before the COVID-19 crisis hit. The recovery in demand was due to the rise of both number of filled jobs and vacancies. Filled jobs, which comprised 97.8% of jobs in 2021, increased by 65.9 thousand, while a higher rate of vacancy was recorded at 2.2%, in line with an increase of 8,000 to record 184,000 vacancies. Slower business situation in 2021 resulted in lower number of jobs created during the year at 70,000 as compared to 73,000 jobs created in 2020. In line with the rise in employment, and GDP turned around by 3.1% during 2021, labor productivity expressed as value added per employment picked up 1.8% from negative 5.5% in 2020 to record 90,647 ringgit Malaysia per person. In the meantime, total hours worked surged 5.8% to 33.8 billion for the year against a sharp decline of 8.7% in 2020, due to the permission to reopen the economic and social activities in stages during the National Recovery Plan phase, which offered businesses the opportunity to operate almost as in the pre-pandemic period. As hours worked registered higher growth than value added, labor productivity as measured by value added per hour worked dropped 2.6%, registering 41 ringgit Malaysia per hour. Labor Market Review fourth quarter of 2021 features an article entitled Early Assessment of Malaysia's Sectoral Labor Market Recovery Amid COVID-19 Crisis. This article assessed the economic recovery and the subsequent sectoral labor market recovery in comparison to the period before COVID-19 health crisis. Study found that despite slower demand and production that resulted in sharp economic contraction, employment registered a marginal decline or remained upward, albeit at a slower rate. This could be due to efforts to retain employees with lower salaries and wages throughout the challenging time. As for labor supply, this could also mean that those who had lost employment in particular industry had actually shifted to secure employment in another industry or moved to self-employment job in ensuring their livelihood. The health crisis had presented the opportunity for businesses and individuals to leverage upon technology in ensuring sustainably. The shift towards digitalization, which had been identified as the key features of Industrial Revolution 4.0, continues to foster the rise in a more flexible working arrangement, or better known as gig job. With low barriers for entry, participation in gig employment provides a temporary solution for income generation following losing previous employment and difficulties in securing another one with equal or higher pay. Despite all the flexibilities, the drawbacks of working in this type of job is lack of social safety net. Hence, the strategic initiatives outlined in the Malaysia Digital Economy Blueprint, which was launched last year, charts the trajectory of digital economy for the country. This can act as a catalyst to bring the gig work to a new level, which ultimately contribute to increase efficiency and higher economic growth for Malaysia. With better law and employment rights protecting the gig workers, gig job can attract involvement of high-skilled personnel and become a sustainable as well as a profitable option in the future. To conclude, Malaysia's labor market in fourth quarter of 2021 improved considerably amid the National Recovery Plan compared to the same quarter in 2020, when the country was under Recovery Movement Control Order. Moving into the year 2022, the whole nation was in Phase 4 of the National Recovery Plan, with reopening of more socio-economic activities and further loosening of previous containment measures. Instead of yet another nationwide restriction, targeted mechanism designed by the government, which was implemented to keep the situation at bay, may give confidence to the businesses to sustain their operation and subsequently strengthen the labor market. For more information on labor market statistics, please refer to our official website at the following web address.